Good morning, Professor Falkowski. How are you this morning?
Good, good. How are
Excellent.
you?
I'm doing very good. Well, we're so excited that you have joined us this morning to tell us a little bit about your CNE journey. We know everybody's journey is a little different, so we are thrilled that you are here to tell us a little bit about yours. So let's go ahead and jump in. If you don't mind, just tell us a little bit about your why and your background in nursing education. Let's start there.
Okay. I've been a nurse educator for well over 20 years, and I teach at a university. And I always wanted to pass the CNE, and I wanted to take the CNE, but I really did not know how to go about it. I went to Philly, I went to seminars, an all-day seminars, and it was just so much information in one day. And I was online, I was looking online, and I saw that you had a class. So what I did was I looked into it and I started on your 60-day journey, and it was coming to me, but slowly,
Mm,
but I listened to you, and I have to say, you have something on your website, and I wrote it down because it meant so much to me. I
mm,
didn't have any mentors first. I didn't have any mentors. No one in my university, they do not have their CNA. So I
mm,
really didn't want to talk to them about it because if I did pass, I didn't want them to be, saying anything. So you were my mentor, Dr.
mm.
Sellers. You were with me this whole time, and I can't thank you enough. I seriously mean this. I mean, you're always there for me. If I ever had a question, you answered me, and I mean, you coached me, and you are really my mentor. But anyway, this saying that you have on your website, run when you can walk, if you have to crawl, if you must, but never give up. And
Mm.
that's what I did. I mean, I get chills when I just said that because that's what I did. I never gave up. And take I get very nervous when I take a test.
Mhm.
And just going down to the site, and years ago, when I took my test on Scantron, I mean, but there you go in, and then you have to, pick up your. They look at everything. I mean, they look at everything. I have glasses. They take your glasses off. I mean, the whole thing. And then I sat down and I thought, what is this question asking? Everything you said, I said it. I said it to myself.
Mhm.
And that did work. And that did work. I was still nervous when I took it. But after I was done with the test, I took the whole 3 hours. And I took my time. I flagged the questions that I wasn't sure of. And after it was over, I'm looking at the results and I'm thinking, I couldn't see that it said if I passed or not. I just saw the score. I thought, oh my God, oh my
Oh.
God. And then it said, you passed. And it was like, I wanted to call you right then and there. I mean, really. I mean, I wanted to call my husband, and then I wanted you to call you because I really do mean this. Your program is just wonderful. I mean, really. I mean, you care about each and every one of us. I mean, and it's the truth. And as you said, when I am teaching now, I am teaching the future educators because, as a matter of
Mhm.
fact, I have educators that I work with that were my students, that that were my students, and they're with me at the university and in other schools.
Mhm.
So it is lifelong learning, and it's tough,
Mhm.
but with your help and the blueprint and going through that and just doing what you said. I mean, there were times that I looked at other things and I shouldn't have because it just mixed me up. And you said
Mhm.
to me, Pat, you only need these two resources, and you were absolutely right.
Yes. Well,
Yes.
you did the hard work. Congratulations. We definitely believed in you and your success. And that's what we want to talk about. So, first of all, congratulations, Professor Falkowski. We know that
Thank you.
Your journey was one that you were committed to, and every single time you were here on the monthly boot camp, or anytime we had a session, a one-on-one session, we had a couple of those, you said,
Yes.
I'm going to do this. So I want to talk about this framework that we have shared before on our various channels, and it is all around the three-step journey or the three-step process, and it's aligned with be, do, and have. So let's talk about be. Be is all about being honest with yourself and also believing in yourself. And let me tell you what happens, because I have a coach as well. And what we have to do sometimes is borrow somebody else's belief when on our toughest days, when we feel frustrated and we're not sure if we can achieve our goal, we have to borrow belief from others. And that's what we do here at Dr. Sellars Educate. We invite you to borrow our belief when you have doubts about your ability to be successful. So let's talk a little bit about that, Professor Falkowski. You being honest with yourself and believing in yourself. What was that journey like for you? And how did you, on those toughest days, how did you get through the obstacles that you were facing?
Well, initially, I did not believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, I'm not going to do it. I know I can't do it. And I would be with Bloom's taxonomy. I would be sitting there memorizing it. Okay, this is remembering. These are the words. This is this. This is that. But it's not that. It is applying it, like you said. I mean, just saying, and I tell this to my students all the time, you
Mm-hmm.
know, but I don't know if I'm answering your question. But anyway, anything you said, I mean, it really did help me. It really, really did. And I should have believed in myself. I should have said to myself, I did say I'm going to do
You
this,
did.
but then I was like, oh, maybe I can't do this, but you said to me, you said, Pat, you're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you were right. You were so right that I was going to do it. And I'm thrilled that I finally, because I even talked to Dr. Billings at one conference, and she even said to me, she's a wonderful lady. And
Yeah.
she said, yeah, this was years ago when I saw her, and she said, Pat, just do not bring what you're learning in school, I mean, what you're teaching to the test,
Mm-hmm.
like with disabilities and things like that, or whatever the case may be. Don't say your answers cannot be what you do at your school. It has to be, you know, uh, research. I mean, it has to be from Billings and Halstead or Dr.
Absolutely.
Caputi.
Absolutely. Yes,
So,
Dr. Billings is delightful. And you're absolutely right that we have to review Billings and Halstead. The exam right now is aligned with the sixth edition and Dr. Caputi's review book. But we say put that NLN hat on. And that's exactly what the exam is about. We like to send a message, a positive message to colleagues the day before they take the exam. We did the same for Professor Falkowski. And what we focus on is we're going to celebrate once you take that exam, because we know that's a huge obstacle, is just registering for the exam and then actually going to
yes,
the testing site, because of all the reasons that you've already talked about, the anxiety that happens even for colleagues that may not have test anxiety. All of a sudden you can feel this feeling of overwhelm, and we want to help you get through that by sending positive thoughts, positive energy your way the day before. And then the next step is around do. So when you think about, let's just go back, Professor Falkowski, to the 30 days before you set for the exam. What was it that you did? What do you think helped you kind of take that leap and achieve success? What was it that you actually did in the 30 days prior leading up to the exam? What would you want to share with the group today?
well, what I did was I looked at the blueprint again, and
Mhm.
believe it or not, I knew item analysis. Now, that is the hardest, the hardest one. But for some reason, it was facilitate learning. That was the chunk of the test, and that was what I had problems with.
Mhm.
So I went over, when I would go to the gym, I would go over, I have your lectures. I mean, I'm from old school, so I mean, I don't have the headsets and things like that, but I had other things, but I would be listening to your lectures when I would be on, on the treadmill or whatever I was on. I would take them with me, and the areas that I was not sure about, like
Mhm.
curriculum was a big curriculum. I mean, there are some things like the theories. I mean, we use the theories, but do actually know them all, so that was a journey I had to. And curriculum, I mean, I did with curriculum, we're using the essentials now. We are working on the essentials, and so curriculum was a biggie for me, and facilitate learning. So you even said to me, concentrate on that. So like I always tell my students, you want to, and my mentor at work used to laugh at me, but I tell the students, study what you know, study what you don't know, not what you know, you know. And so that's what I tried to do. So for the last 30 days, I would facilitate learning. I was looking at Dr. Caputi's book. I was also going over the master class. I went over that and answered some of the questions on the master class, and just try to review those two areas instead of trying to do the whole thing all over again. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, but I'm just thrilled because it took me a long time for this. It took me a long time to achieve what I wanted to achieve. So, I think I might start this in my university. I think once they find out, you
Mhm.
know, I think it's going to catch on because they're going to say, "How did you do it?"
Yes,
So,
exactly. Which brings us, and I think that's a great reflective moment, is you just thinking about, the 30 days leading up to it, identifying what are the barriers, what's getting in the way of your ability to focus. Because the doing step is all around focus, only using the two resources. And sometimes doubt can creep in and make you think that you need other resources. And one of the topics I remember us talking about during our last conversation before you took the exam really was around your notes. Do you remember that conversation that we had?
yes, yes, yes.
And what I want to say to everybody today is when you write it down, we do have an increased likelihood of retaining that information. Research says 70 to 80%. However, this is one critical step I want you to remember. We don't want you to focus on writing everything down, exactly what we're talking about right now. Focus on those content areas that you haven't reached that 80% threshold yet. So Bloom's taxonomy, as you mentioned, Professor Falkowski, if that's a gap area for you and you've written down those different levels and the verbs and the specific teaching strategies and evaluation strategies, once you write that down, we want you to put that away, because the reality is when you study that content, you have solidified it in your memory because you've written it down. So don't let fear or anxiety creep in and create doubts for you. Once you've written it down, and we're going to engage in another writing activity today as we look at Code's experiential learning theory. But that's what we would say too, is when you write your notes down, don't go back and look at those notes once you feel like you have solidified that content. Okay. We want you, I think when we were on the call, you were saying, I'm not sure where I put those notes at, but when we talked it through, you already knew Bloom's taxonomy. So there was really no need for you to waste time looking for those notes. So, and then the last step, thank you so much for your honesty, is really around having. And that is having success, which you've already talked about it. But what we want you to add on to that as you all think about kind of the next step is to have conversations with your students, with your colleagues about your success. And success really is committing to your whatever your foundation started with, which is your why. Why is it that you want to achieve your CNE? We talk a lot about our ability to be successful being 80% focusing on the content and 20% really being that mindset. But there's a piece of data that we reviewed about 2 weeks ago, I would say, and that is the impact of your passion, your heartstrings, and how committed you really are. And I saw that come through very loud and clear with you, Professor Falkowski, really is your commitment, that heartstring connection that you had to achieving CNE. So that's what we would say, having that commitment, having those conversations with our colleagues, with our students about the importance of certification and becoming a better nurse educator on your journey as well. So we appreciate you joining us today. Last parting words you would say to anybody that's listening to this reflective moment that you're having, Professor Falkowski, what would you say to them to encourage them to take the plunge, to commit to achieving CNE?
What I would tell them to do, what you told me about, find out your learning style. Just like find out your learning style. And when you told me, like with Kolb's, to draw it And I sat there and I drew it and put everything down related to it, and and the convergers, divergers, the whole thing. That helped me. Just writing it down and seeing it, because I'm a visual learner, so that really helped me. Um, and just keep doing what what you tell us to do,
Yeah.
do. You know,
That's
so
awesome. Well, thank you so much. So Be Do Have really is the framework that Professor Falkowski followed, and that's what we would ask you to do when you all are reflecting and taking time to kind of debrief from hearing from Professor Falkowski, is just think about what is it, starting from step one, B. So what is it that's driving you towards CNE, that's driving you towards achieving this high level of nurse educator excellence, and then doing the work. We're excited when we hear about your success. However, we're guiding you on that journey. You still are doing the hard work. We're just here to mentor, to coach, to facilitate the focus that we want you to have in order for you to achieve success. And then also that B is believing in yourself and borrowing somebody else's belief if you're not quite where you need to be, and then doing the work, and then having. So it's all around having success, having the conversation with our students, with our colleagues, so that you can celebrate once you cross that finish line. So round of applause. Thank you so much for Professor
oh, you're welcome.
for joining us. And make sure you take time to celebrate and share with everyone about this huge accomplishment that you've been able to achieve. Thank you so much for being
Okay, okay. Thank you. Thank you.
here.